NextSportsStar.com. It's where the big names come to talk sports. Jeremy Roenick, Jesse Ventura, Larry King, Scotty Bowman, Evander Holyfield, Kim Coates, Joe Theismann, Steve Yzerman, David Backus, Dave Coulier, Ken Shamrock, and more. NextSportsStar.com. Uncensored, unscripted, and interactive. Join the conversation.
I've been sitting here waiting for you, hoping that you feel the way that I do.
Welcome back to Be My Guest. Joining me on the line right now is Reggie Gibbons. Reggie Gibbons played in the CFL and the NFL. He played in 1994 with the Baltimore Stallions in the CFL, then played with the Toronto Argonauts 1996-97, then played for the San Francisco 49ers for 1999-2000, or 1999, San Francisco, and the year 2000 with the Washington Redskins. Reggie Gibbons is now based in Florida. He owns his own company. It's called Blitz 58 Fitness. He's a wellness coach and a personal trainer. Reggie, I think I've given you enough props. How are you doing so far?
I'm doing fine. Good morning. I'm doing fine. How are you doing today?
Good. And remember, I told you can plug Blitz 58 Fitness as much as you want. You can plug your Twitter. This is your chance now to tell everybody who you are, but not exactly at this rate, at this moment. I wanted to ask you basically, you played in San Francisco, you played in Baltimore. These two teams are going to be playing in the Super Bowl. What type of cities are they as far as football cities are?
Both cities have a lot of tradition. When I first played in Baltimore, because things happened with the Colts and everything going to Indianapolis, that fan base is amazing. Like they was hungry for some football. When the CFL came down and brought the Baltimore Stallions there, we packed Memorial Stadium, 40, 50, 60,000 people at every game when they came down. So that city is a football town. It's a sports town with the Orioles and everybody else there. It's a football town. It's a sports town. It's amazing. Those fans are loyal no matter what the weather like. Also, when I went to San Francisco, it's the same thing because when Ed Barlow and the teams they had, he built a dynasty. So all those teams was expect excellence, and those fans was amazing too. So so I've been fortunate in my career to always been around teams and organizations that was top notch, and the fan base was amazing.
You played in Toronto. Doug Flutie was the quarterback. And I'm wondering, when you look at Colin Kaepernick, the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers, if you see a bit of Flutie in him.
When he scrambled around, like Flutie was he was amazing too, because the only thing about the knock with him because his size, but he could run and he could pass. The same thing as Colin Kaepernick could do. It's just a difference. Colin has 6'5", and Flutie May was 5'9".
Yeah.
The difference is the height wise. But when you see him back in the pocket, he makes the right decision. And Doug Flutie did the exact same thing. When he got back there, if he had the pass, he'd throw it. If he didn't have the pass, he could run. And that was the thing about it was more deceptive on Doug end because he was such a good thrower and he scrambled around. But when Kaepernick, when he decides to go, he goes.
Colin Kaepernick does a lot of the zone read, and if I'm not mistaken, the whole zone read thing started with the CFL. And if it didn't start with the CFL, it certainly became a really big part of the CFL. You've played linebacker, middle linebacker. How difficult is it to do the zone read, or at least to defend it, when you have a quarterback that's very good at specifically looking exactly where is the end? Is the end crashing down, or is he staying outside? What type of pressure does it put on the defense?
It puts a lot of pressure on defense. I went back to go back. I played against the zone read when I was in high school. Okay,
I'm sorry about that. Don't want to offend you. Okay.
No. I'm saying I played more in high school, and then in college you play against it. We had a couple of teams had when I was in college, Penn State. But it puts a lot of problems and put a lot of pressure on him as a linebacker, because you have to read both sides. You got to read the fullback, or the running back coming to you in the hole, and also you got to read the quarterback. The quarterback can give the ball off or pull it. So the most important person in this whole deal to me is the defensive end or outside linebacker. How he plays is really crucial because the quarterback is really reading him. If he goes down, he's going to keep it. If he stays up, he's going to give the ball. So it's very hard though, especially if you haven't seen it a lot. And I think that's the new age is right now. A lot of NFL teams haven't seen them because we're so used to seeing drop back quarterbacks for so many years. So a lot of the guys have kind of got used to people going back and not being attacked with that kind of read. I think that's what's going on now. But I think the younger guys that's in college coming up now are kind of used to the zone read. I think the older guys now in the defenses now not used to seeing it as much. So it puts a lot of pressure, and I think that's and you have a quarterback that can run and throw the ball and run as fast as Colin can, and a lot of the quarterbacks are right now. It puts a lot of pressure on you. But you got to be really athletic. You got to really stick to your rules when you're playing a quarterback on a team like that.
And we're talking right now to Reggie Gibbons, former CFL NFL player. Now he is a fitness and wellness coach. If you want to learn more about it, you can go to his Twitter account at Blitz58Fitness. And if you want to learn more about his website, www.blitz58fitness.com. We'll mention that a few more times during this interview. One thing I noticed with Colin Kaepernick is that 2 games ago he set an NFL rushing record for a quarterback, and then last game he barely even ran the ball. Because to me it was kind of like if the opposition was fooled the game 2 games ago, in the last game they were prepared for it. They basically did something else and they still won the game. So it's kind of like you can try and defend it and maybe be successful against it, but at the same time they could do other things. They could just, if they spread the end there, because the end's trying to do containment, they'll just run the ball. So to me, you mentioned before how difficult it is for the end, for the outside linebacker. I just think it must be very difficult for the defensive coordinator. Now the guy's got 2 weeks to plan for it. And is it, in your opinion, would 2 weeks be too much time to plan for it? Or do you need that extra time?
I think you need the extra time, but it really comes to, do you have the players that can play that defense, that play? And a lot of teams, it's hard to, if you got bigger guys inside, it's hard for those guys to move out like that. Like I think a couple of the Ravens, the D tackles are really big. If you're really big guys, it's hard for them because they're used to being just pluggers. Mm-hmm. And going playing against the read option, you can't be a plugger. You got to be able to play off a block and play two holes. So I think even with the 2 weeks will help. But as Paul, like you said earlier, as he ran 181 yards 1 week and then he barely ran, but he threw the ball. So you could do both things. But I think also you can't. I think the problem with Atlanta they sold out on one thing. They said they're going to stop Colin Kaepernick. They ran their ends up the field, and as San Francisco, a line came down and blocked the middle linebacker. There was no one that's there. And they ran you had tight end. You ran the tight end off, Davis off, and they sort of ran the middle linebacker off, or the outside linebacker, so no one was there. So you got to be very careful, and you can't sell yourself off on one thing. You got to play. Like I said, you got to play technique sound. You got to play your rules, and you can't assume that he's going to get the ball, not get the ball. You got to have everybody on the same page.
I was going to ask you, like, when you play in the NFL, it's a full job. Like, you get there like 7 in the morning theoretically, and you're there like all day.
You get there like 6 in the morning.
Yeah, okay, 6 in the morning. When you're playing in the CFL, it's like 4.5 hours tops. What was the biggest adjustment you found when you went from the CFL to the NFL?
It wasn't as, like I said, it wasn't as strict when it came to the hours you had to be there. I still put the hours in, but you get kind of when you have 4.5. You only could be there 4.5 hours. I'm used to being there at 6 o'clock in the morning, and being there till 6 in the night or 7 o'clock, watching film or practicing or working out or something. But that was the biggest difference because you go from that type of structure and it's not as structured as the NFL. That's the big, because you got to adjust your time well, because you have a lot more free time in the CFL.
Yeah, that's one thing I talked to Rob Murphy. He came from the NFL, played as a offensive lineman with BC in Toronto. He said he couldn't believe it. Like, that's it? Like, it's over. Like, what do I do with myself now? Because he was so used to that long, structured, regimented workday. And it, not to say that a CFL isn't a workday, but it's, I've also wondered too. Like when you have in the NFL, you have so many coaches. You may have like linebackers coaches, tight end coaches, defensive line coaches, quarter. There's so many coaches. Is that part of the reason why this day is as long as it is just to give these guys some reason to do what they're doing?
I would never say that. The coaches are valuable people. It's just the product and the way they present is a little different. It's hard to say because I guess you actually have the money to pay those type of coaches. So if you can have the opportunity to have more coaches, it's always better for the product because then you can coach these guys up. And if you have specific people to certain positions, like I had a linebacker coach and you got a D-line coach, you have both. In the CFL, you might have one guy got two hats. But also it gives you opportunity to learn the scheme and specifically for what you need to do. Mm-hmm. And while doing that, when everyone's in their own individual meeting, then everyone's team to come together for one big meeting. So it makes for a more detailed practice, and you should be more prepared because each position had their own meeting. You know exactly what each person's doing. So I think when that is more, you put more time in, you got more coaches, and so you have so you'll be better on the field once you get on the field and better prepared.
Now, I talked before about Blitz 58 Fitness. What is Blitz 58 Fitness?
Blitz 58, it's a program that I developed over the years. I've been training myself since I left Penn State. I got my exercise sports science degree when I left Penn State. And I've been training ever since I was in the NFL and the CFL. So I've been training myself, and I started training other people. And eventually I just made it to my own business. That's really what it came down to. I was been training so long that people were like, well, you should make this your own business. It's something I love to do. And fitness is a passion to me, passion for me, and about getting people healthy and living better and enjoying their life as they get older instead of not enjoying their life. And just educating people on health, and that's a passion of mine. So that's really what it's developed about. But also, it's a program that it gets you. I have a 90-day program that you can come join us 90 days. We go through nutrition, we go workouts, cardio, all different things. We go through every aspect of your life and try to figure out why you're not attaining the goals you want and how can we attain the goals you want.
And it says here also about Blitz 58, it's leader in mobile fitness in South Florida and Virginia. What is mobile fitness?
Because I come to you. As I always say, I take the excuse out of fitness.
So you're a personal trainer that you would go from, you've got X amount of clients, you'll travel to see them as opposed to them coming to see you in a gym?
Yeah. Yeah, supposed to come to me because most people work. And I always hear about, well, I got to get up early. You don't want to get up. I don't have time to do this. I have the kids. I have all these different things. So what I say is, all right, so what time can you work out? So I tell people, find a time of the day where you can work out. I'll be there. Mm-hmm. So you have no excuses.
Do you kick
butt? That's the first thing. That's the first thing you do. You take the excuse out. You say, all right, if you have that time, you have time in the day. If it's 30 minutes, 40 minutes, you have time. And I'll be there for that time. I'll make sure you get on right. I'll make sure you get yourself out of your own way.
So are you a drill sergeant?
No, I'm not a drill sergeant. I never played football like that. I'm a very nice guy.
I just want to know, though, when you're trying to get these people going for 30 or 40 minutes and they're kind of like wimping out, do you have to crack the whip and say...
Well, it's a lot of ways you do it. You get to read people. I always say I'm not a screamer or yeller, but I'm very assertive in what we need to get done. Nice way of saying it. That's a linebacker way of saying it.
All right. Anyway, Reggie Gibbons, when he played, I gotta have a little fun here with Reggie. Reggie Gibbons, was signed by the Toronto Argonauts in 1996. He flunks his physical because he doesn't have a posterior ligament, which is one of many ligaments. I guess posterior. What do you say for your ass ligament or whatever it is, right? And
yeah, that's my leg. That's the ligament behind my ACL.
That's right. So He doesn't have it, and supposedly flunks the test. But Don Matthews, the head coach of the Argonauts, says, I don't care, the kid can play, and basically signs you. You play amazingly well. To me, we joked about it yesterday on Facebook, but there are certain things I'm sure if you didn't have the posterior ligament and it was flunked by the Argo doctor, they pass it. How did you get through in the NFL on their test?
It's good you say that. Technically speaking, when I hurt my knee when I was at the Baltimore Stallions, in the Baltimore Stallions year. And I got treatment. I went to the doctors and everything. And the doctor told me there are so many people in the NFL, the NHL, basketball is playing with no what they call PCL in their knee, and they're flourishing with it. So he said, really, as long as you let your quads and hamstrings are strong and you pass your test for your strength, hamstring, the quad ratio, you should be fine. Everything would be fine. So when I went to Saskatchewan, I actually passed my test. It's great to say. People don't know. The actual doctor itself, the orthopedic doctor, passed me. He passed me. The front office flunked my test.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they sent me to go, and actually they had me there for 2 days. And they sent me back to the same doctor that passed me. Said, and his exact words to me, well, I don't know why you're coming back here. I just passed you yesterday. So actually, the Saskatchewan actually was a team that their front office flunked me. So it wasn't per se I failed the test. The front office flunked me.
Okay.
Orthopedic doctor passed me. So that's when I came to Toronto. They had no problem. Once they gave me a test of my knee and saw everything was strong, my knee actually probably was stronger than my good knee, as they say. And that's why I did. And that's also when I went to the NFL, the exact same thing. They saw I played 3 years with a knee issue, and my knee was strong, and they did the exact same thing. They tested my knee and said everything was fine. I didn't have to do a waiver or anything. So
I'm going to ask you now about the Super Bowl. Are you going to watch it? Do you have any particular feelings for any team? San Francisco because you played in the NFL, or Baltimore because you played with Baltimore in the CFL?
I am going for the 49ers. I know that's my heart goes to 49ers. They gave me my first shot in the NFL. I had a great time out there. A lot of great people. I feel a lot of great friends. Eddie Bartlett was great. And sisters running the team. I feel a lot of great friends that I go there and do a lot of events with them too. I'm going to 49ers, but I'm happy because I'm a linebacker and Ray Lewis and what he's doing and the emotion and how he's the heart of that defense and he's taking that team to the last 3 weeks and the way he willed that team is amazing. And to see the passion that he has for the game, it's amazing. So on both sides, I like both teams, but I'm a 49er.
Reggie, I want to thank you for joining us today. We've had a picture of you on the screen today, and you still look the same. You still don't have any hair, again, which is okay, right?
Choice. That's by choice.
That's by choice, and he actually has a hairdressing business, so the two are not to be related. He chooses not to have any hair. Good-looking guy then. I'm sure you're still a good-looking guy now. You were a great guy to be around when you played football. Let's chat some more in the future. I'll just give you a plug there. It's Reggie Gibbons. His Twitter account is at Blitz58Fitness, and if you want to learn more about his business, it's www.blitz58fitness.com. And here's founder of Blitz Fitness, the leader in mobile fitness in South Florida and Virginia. I like the way it's very promotional.
Come to you. Also, I do online training, so if I want to know, they can contact me, and I can at Blitz58Fitness at gmail.com. They can contact me, and I can also get them on a program that way.
So you see that, folks? Even if he doesn't come visit you at your home, he can visit you online, and he can kick your ass online, even though he said he doesn't do that. But some people need to have their butts kicked when they're training, all right? Reggie, thanks a lot for joining us. Let's talk again in the future. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Thanks. Reggie Gibbons, former CFL NFL player. When we come back, I'll be joined by John Heshka. He's a sports law professor at Thompson Rivers University in BC. We'll talk a little bit about Lance Armstrong, maybe some other issues, NFL, you name it. There's always stuff that has to do with sports law. We'll be back in a minute with John Heschke.
A lot of things always change in my life. I just gotta rearrange.